All right, what's up, you guys? I'm sitting here with Kensington Rhodes, and he is about to embark on a content creation journey. So, today we're going to kind of talk a little bit about his vision, his goals, and come up with an actionable plan of attack so that he can start making videos. And so, yeah, Ken's, you're not brand new to this. You know, you've had waves on TikTok where you like got popping in the Guatemalan scene through your travel videos, and you're also like a really good speaker in general, which I feel like is a leg up when it comes to creating content. But I guess the
Appreciate it.
the first question to kind of get this rolling is, what would your objectives be with creating content?
Yeah, I would say I think the biggest thing for me is I love to connect with new people, which is why I've learned other languages. I've realized recently about myself that I didn't, as much as I loved the actual language part, the thing that really got me hyped about it was being able to connect with a new group of the world that, like, previously was essentially like not available to me.
Yeah.
So by learning Korean, I'm able to talk with Korean people. By learning Japanese, I can talk to Japanese people. Spanish, I was able to speak with Guatemalans and then obviously anyone else who speaks Spanish. And so, like, my biggest thing is I realized that the best way to find people that I want to connect with is to attract them to me. And so, I mean, my real goals are to be so, like, unapologetically authentic and real that the people that don't fit me are pushed away and the people that do are attracted.
Yeah. So I would say also, like, approaching your brand in this way is one of the most difficult ways to do it.
Yeah.
It's really rewarding because you make genuine connections, but when you're putting yourself out there authentically, when you get negative comments, it stings, you know.
Hmm.
Versus if you're like, like how Jake Paul or like some of these other creators that are playing a persona, oh, what's up, guys?
Yeah.
They're clearly not being themselves. They do that for a reason because it's easier. If someone hates on a video like that, then you're just like, yeah, I think it's stupid also. So
Mhm.
it doesn't hurt. Versus like when you put out a message or like a video that's like straight from your freaking heart, and then someone comments on it and is like, lame, great value, Hermosi, whatever the comments are gonna say, that's when it actually starts to sting. But the real ones out there are gonna respect you, and like, you gotta push through the hate and expect that there's gonna be hate that is gonna come no matter what.
Yeah.
Unless if and it's like, if you're not getting any hate, your videos are probably not getting any
Yeah.
reach in general. They're not getting in front of people. And so hate comments can actually be a good sign. Um, but you got to be careful that it's going to sting a little bit. And so, like, with this strategy for your page of what with where you're at, I think the most important thing is to get those reps and get that practice in.
Mhm.
Because even like something, this goes with creating anything. Like, I've experienced this with making my music, where I can want to wait until my music is perfect before I want to put it out, and it leads to waiting forever, waiting years, and you don't have that much time. You also want to bring people on the journey. Like, you want to show people the lows and the highs and just push through it, and just like, all right, if you put a video out that you don't really like, that should give you more urgency to get your next video out.
Yeah.
So with your strategy, what I want to do is, one, keep it very simple.
Mhm.
um we want to be intentional with it, but we don't want to be overthinking it, which is like a fine balance. Because there can be a lot of times when you're just like traveling, gathering like clips or whatever, and then you don't know what the video is going to be. So, like, being intentional isn't just about scripting your videos completely. It's about, when we shoot a video, do we know where this video is being posted, whose page it's going on, what it's for. And so being intentional doesn't mean you got to freaking write every single word, but you don't want to just go and hit record and be like, "Oh, we'll kind of figure this out later." It's like when we show up to shoot, we want to know where's this video going and what's the purpose for it, because it can be really easy getting caught up in doing too much planning. And that's where like the overthinking, we want to think about it, but we don't want to like overthink it because we're going to become too self-critical. We're not going to want to put things out. And so like with this simplicity, really I want to identify 2 or 3 solid pillars that are essentially lanes that we can explore of making content. And because at the stage where someone doesn't have any followers, you're just getting started, we want to be looking at this scientifically, in the sense of all of our assumptions need to go out the window. Like, they're not going to help us, and our assumptions are even going to come in the form of excuses a lot of the time, of reasons why we shouldn't record. Like, even as someone, like, I've been making videos like this since 2016, where I've been on camera. Before that, I was never on camera. And it's even still, after 8 years or so, the voice in my head is coming up with excuses and is like wanting to. And eventually, when you get into a flow state, you get past that. But the flow states are going to come and they're going to go. You're going to go through a sprint, you're going to get better and more confident, then you're going to fall off and go for a couple months, and then you're going to have to get back into that flow again. Getting back into the flow is when the excuses start coming back in, especially if in that off season you're consuming a lot of content. And so like something that I think is that like social media and creating videos is like going to the skate park. And if you're just getting started, you can't just skip learning how to ollie, learning how to kickflip, learning how to drop in. You can't just skip all that and go straight to doing a tray flip down the 6 stair. But we want to watch these creators that have been doing it for years and that are getting millions of views and say, I'm not good enough because they just did a tray flip down the 6 stair and I can barely ollie. But you can't let that stop you from progressing. You have to just push through, and you're going to fall and eat it. Like I was at the skate park the other day, freaking ate it, scraped up my leg real bad. And yeah, a lot of people are going to stop after that, and they're going to fall off. But the ones that do push through get better and better and better. And eventually you're going to be able to do these more complicated videos that get more reach and that maybe have big collabs in them or brand deals or whatever. But you got to take your baby steps to get there. You've at least done some of your baby steps. Like, you've made videos talking on camera, you've posted, you've even gone viral on TikTok. So like, compared to the average person, you have an advantage, and you're also surrounded with other creators.
That's true.
Huge advantage. If you're like creating in a vacuum, it's the most difficult, which I'm also guilty of, because like creating content is like a vulnerable space, But if you can create with other people around, use these advantages that you have, you're going to at least be able to fast track through some of the struggles that some people are going to feel the pain a lot more. But so if you were to identify 3, even 2, like key lanes of like topics you want to talk about, messages that you want to share, what do you feel like those would be?
Yeah, this is actually an area that I've struggled with a lot, because most of the content that I made in the past, which honestly is not that much, and it was all like while I was traveling, and I'm not traveling right now. I'm not actively, like, that's a part of my life that's no longer, it's kind of dormant.
Yeah.
The travel and like learning new languages part is kind of dormant right now. And so it's like although I know that that's a big, like when people think of me, that's one of the first things they think of. But I don't know if I want to necessarily make stuff related to that
Yeah.
right now. Other than maybe I'm down to share stories, but I don't really want to be like re-diving into that world at the moment. So like in my daily life, the things that are probably most important to me are going to be like living a healthy lifestyle, which is like centered around the gym and like eating relatively healthy and just like trying to take care of my health in general. I'm not a super crazy intense person about any one lane of that. It's like a whole bunch of little things.
Yeah.
And then obviously like entrepreneurship is probably the thing that I think about the most, like just business in general. And specifically for me, it's more about growing as a person than even like the money or the business side. Like I see entrepreneurship as a phenomenal pathway to becoming my greatest self.
Yeah.
And because of that, I have like an unending passion for learning more about it and trying to improve in that area.
Yeah.
And the third would be similar to what I talked about at the beginning, which I guess I'd put it as interpersonal relationships. And specifically, I'm really in love with having difficult conversations and being vulnerable, because I've found so much. It was so hard for me to do growing up, and now it's become like one of my greatest strengths.
Yeah.
So I would say that like I don't know if I necessarily want to commit to all of those things, but those are like probably the
They're big pillars.
three biggest things in my life that I think about the most, that are like the most valuable to me, other than like, well, no, I'm gonna just say that those are probably the three biggest things in my life right now.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's like a fire starting point, because even like if we're looking at just the health and wellness side of things, that could be a whole lane in it of itself that consists of gym and fitness videos and food and diet stuff, and even this like holistic lifestyle that checks all the different boxes. And what I like about the lane of entrepreneurship versus business is that entrepreneurship implies the personal development aspect of the entrepreneur. Business, that can be kind of boring, but entrepreneurship, that can be a little bit sexier. And that's more like the entrepreneur developing as well as the business developing. So out of those three, which one do you feel like you could start shooting videos the easiest? Which one do you feel like is the lowest hanging fruit between the health and lifestyle, entrepreneurship, and the conversations and relationships?
I would say the easiest thing to like film is just a workout, but in terms of like content that could go deep, that will like get me the most juice. There's a massive wasp over here. But in terms of the thing that would like get me the most hyped and probably attract the people that I'm most interested in connecting with, and the one that I lean towards the most is entrepreneurship, because I can document the journey without trying to like teach people necessarily or trying to fake being a mentor. I can share my story. So that's the one that I lean towards the most, that gets me, like when I think I would love to create a personal brand, that's probably the kind of thing that I think about the most, is the journey through entrepreneurship, because it's not just about business, it's personal growth. And so I can be like vulnerable and authentic, and I don't have to try. Like if I was doing fitness stuff and I was like, it wouldn't make sense for me to be like teaching people how to do whatever. I'll do that on a one-on-one thing with like friends and family, but like I don't want to
be putting online.
No, I don't want to be JPG or like TNF or any of these Mr. Optimal dudes or any of that stuff. Like that's not my lane, and I don't want it to be. But with entrepreneurship, it feels the most natural to be able to document and like just share what I'm going through rather than trying to pretend to be super accomplished when I don't consider myself to be in a place where I can be like a mentor and teaching others yet.
Yeah.
But I feel like watching the journey is still valuable, sharing the journey is still valuable. Whereas like trying to teach people about fitness, it just doesn't feel like the thing for me.
Yeah. Well, I feel like that's a great point that I totally agree with is like a lot of people they think, "Oh, I need to provide value on social media. Let me freaking start teaching you how to do something." And to the point where it's like I'm sick of those videos. Like
Yeah.
I'm and I mean, some people there's so many different types of consumers, but people forget that there's other ways of providing value in your videos. And one of your advantages that you have being at the start of your journey is that you are at a more relatable place than some big Elon Musk is. If you were to like take entrepreneurship as a skill set, rank it from 1 to 5, 5 being Elon, 1 being like brand new. If you're making videos talking to the 4s and the 5s on the really technical stuff, that's actually the smallest group of potential viewers. The largest group of viewers, if you want to get more reach and more views, are talking about the 1s, the 2s, and the 3s. And so you can use that to your advantage. And by documenting your journey in a way that is genuine and authentic to you, you have an opportunity to connect with people that are on the same level as you or even slightly above you that can help bring you along farther on your journey. So I would say like when it comes to the videos, something I'd love to see from you is to try and not take yourself so serious. Like, and this is like a constant balancing act that, at least when reflecting on my career, I go through waves of like, okay, I'm this isn't a joke. Like I am serious about this, you know?
Yeah.
This is my life, you know? And I'll get really serious and then I'll be like, dang, I'm not having fun anymore. I'm taking myself way too seriously. Let me swing back the other way. And it kind of swings back and forth. But I would say, like, in general, most people go to social media to be entertained and to like smile, you know? That I think more of that energy, like it can be so easy to talk about heavy topics or really serious topics. But if you can break that tension, people love that. You know, I love it when I'm watching a video, especially if you can combine entertainment and some value in there. But another thing too that I like think is a huge part of this strategy, one, simplicity that we talked about, you know, like we identified 3 different pillars, and that's even like a long-term roadmap of going into those 3. Like to start, I think we just do some videos in the entrepreneur lane and start experimenting with those a little bit to kind of get the wheels turning. Because once we get rolling, it becomes so much easier. Like ideas come easier, writing becomes easier, and if an idea is really hard to write or to get out, that could be an indicator that it might not be the best idea to share. Versus like when you're in a flow state and it comes so easy and you just rip it, that's like some of the best stuff that you can get because you don't have to force it. And so like
It's true.
this strategy is organic. That's what we're going for. We're not putting money behind these videos to boost them. We're putting all of our resources into the production, but then when we post it, we want it to grow organically. And I think a healthy part of growing organically is you can't be forcing it. You can't be trying super hard. Like people smell it through their phone and it makes them lose trust. And I think one of your strengths as a human is you make people really comfortable. Like that's why you're so good with conversations, you know? Like you have a goofy side, a light side to yourself, but you also have this really smart and experienced side. Bringing those two together, because I mean, I feel similar with myself as well, and with my content where I've been struggling is it's been too serious, and it's a process to try and get my lighter side on camera because I'll be hanging out with my friends and like then the energy on camera is totally different. And so really it's like when we're trying to get the wheels turning, focusing in on entrepreneurship videos, and then really all you can do. So first one, simplicity. Second one is intentionality, which is what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
We're talking about this, coming up with a strategy before you get started, and that's gonna set you up better than the person that's just randomly ripping things, hoping that they're gonna get somewhere. Is that we are focusing in and trying to keep it simple and be intentional. And the third major thing that is like something that Mr. Beast talks about and a lot of creators, and I think you're going to resonate with this from going to the gym, is you just have to do your best and keep showing up. Like as long like your best is going to change. And your best at the start is not going to be incredible.
Right.
And so there's only so much you can do. So if you know that you're just doing the best with what you've got, watch your video, put it out. You might cringe, you might not like certain things, but then your next video, reflect on that first one, be like, okay, what did I not like about it? How can I make it better? Okay, I was talking kind of weird. Let me try and talk a little bit differently. Or, okay, the shot was in a weird spot. Let me reposition the camera. Okay, the audio wasn't that good. Let me try and upgrade my microphones. And this is a process that you should be doing through 100 videos, 500 videos. Your entire career of building a personal brand is try your best and then try and make it a little bit better. Because I think a lot of people, they want these shortcuts that are going to take these big leaps in growth. It's not the reality. We want to be making little inches, like each video, little inch. And then next thing you know, after you made 10 videos, you're going to notice a substantial difference. And it's not even just in the production quality. Like, dude, I watched videos from when I first was trying to talk on camera. It hurts so bad to watch. Like, it's incredibly painful. But now, after recording hundreds of podcasts, YouTube videos, all this stuff, my delivery skills have gotten better. So when it comes to, like, trying to do better, it doesn't always have to be, how do I visually make it better? It can be, all right, how can I find a juicier idea to talk about? Or how can I get to the point quicker? How can I cut out the ums? How can I, like add that special sauce? Maybe that's, let me sit down with a friend and talk to them. And so you really got to be just trying different things. And as you try different things, they're going to get better. So to kind of bring this back down to earth a little bit, within the lane of entrepreneurship, I know you like Alex Hormozi's videos.
Some of them. Some of them are.
Which ones are the ones that you like the most out of his types of videos?
Yeah, I prefer the long form YouTube videos. All the video, like there was a while where he was doing the videos with like explosion noises and like eagles flying across the screen and like really obnoxious subtitles. And I understand that he was experimenting with something, but for me, I was like, I just want the straight, like, just tell me the stuff you're going to tell me a good story and move on. Don't add all this weird fluff to it. And I think he's proven that he realized that he doesn't want to do that style anymore either. Yeah. So the ones I liked the most were his old podcasts that were not videos, which, that's just a podcast. It was just audio. And then his like long form YouTube videos, because I don't think he's naturally, maybe he's really funny in person, but he doesn't really strike me as a goofy guy. He doesn't strike me as like when he's trying really hard to be funny, it doesn't, I don't really enjoy that. I really like his serious, straightforward, even when he goes on these like angry rants.
Yeah.
I prefer that over the goofy, gimmicky stuff, which is easy to say, You know, everybody's like, yeah, I want the real stuff. But then what do? We go watch hours of whatever randomly pops up on the For You page. But yeah, I really prefer, like, he does a great job of explaining things very simply, clearly, quickly, without frills. And so that's what I really love about him.
Yeah. So I think also with that, something that we want to do is remove as many barriers and as much friction for making content.
Yeah.
And so I think maybe like a part 2 to this video can be setting up your camera stuff. Like I can come in and help you with some of that. I know you've already kind of been getting started with it, but like having a consistent setup where you can just like, all right, I got an idea. Let me just sit down, flip it on, and rip it. Because especially, you know, in the lane of entrepreneurship, I think a lot of what you're saying is more important than what you're showing.
Mhm.
And so you can be just in a room in your house. You don't need to have Timp in the background or something.
Yeah.
Of course, those things are great. Like, and that goes in with the how can I try and make this better inch by inch? But also there's different lanes with making content that, you know, the 80/20 is if you don't have a good message, it doesn't matter how good the shots look. No one's watching it. I see videos that people shot with hundreds of thousands of dollars of budgets, the best camera, the best gear. Corporate, vanilla.
Yeah.
Then you see other videos, freaking dog face homie,
Yeah.
you know, drinking the tea or drinking the freaking juice.
Yeah.
Boom, viral, blowing up. And so people get super caught up in overthinking a lot of the technical things. And I think the biggest part about this strategy is taking action and just trying things. Then once you've got a base, like just like Hormozi, he had to experiment with so many different lanes. And he did them like at the best of his ability at that time, you know, where when he started his podcast, he had no video. Same thing with my podcast, Conversations with Humans. Truman and I were just like, dang, we need to start recording podcasts, and we keep overthinking the cameras. Let's just ditch the cameras and focus on the podcast. We did like 40 episodes, audio only. Then we introduced cameras and did maybe 1 camera, 2 cameras. Then eventually we're shooting in a studio with a designated switcher and all these things. But we didn't just start at that studio point. We started with no video, just talking on a podcast. So I think leaning into that aspect of where you're at, because even like if we're looking at Truman's content and his page versus yours, he has a large expectation and a large following and this sort of reputation that puts a lot of pressure to make the videos be at a certain standard. Whereas for you, you don't have that same expectation yet, so you can start ripping things a little bit more casually to start to build your audience. But I do think with that first key of like keeping it simple, we gotta, and being intentional, we don't want to just have these long-winded conversations or long-winded videos, especially if you're going after any vertical video. I do think that YouTube would be a great platform for you and for your videos, because it's hard to fit a message in 60 seconds. So even like for my strategy, YouTube is a big part of my strategy. Like right now I'm kind of going like 50-50 between YouTube and TikTok/Instagram, but like I love YouTube, and there's so much growth potential on YouTube that people don't talk about. Like they talk about, TikTok, Instagram Reels, whatever, but when everyone's focused on one area, it leaves this wide open area where there's lots of opportunity. And YouTube has passed the test of time. Even TikTok, there's every year a new conversation about a bill being passed that TikTok's gonna be deleted, whatever. Whereas YouTube has been going strong since 2006. And so, and also I love the search engine aspect, where even if someone is Googling something, a YouTube video will pop up. Your IG reel isn't popping up when people are searching. And so there is lots of potential for reach if you're making intentional videos and attracting the right people. So
Yeah.
what do you think what's your biggest roadblock right now that's stopping you from putting out videos or from creating videos?
Yeah. Biggest roadblock right now is a lot of times I'm not sure what to talk about, and I'll sit down to like write out a script, and it takes forever. Whereas like when I just like think of something and I write it real quick, I feel like if I have inspiration, I can write something pretty good.
Yeah.
And I've had like some mild success with like posting written content on Threads or LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Nothing yet on Twitter/X, um, but when I like try to plan a video,
Mm-hmm.
I get stuck in the planning phase and the writing phase,
Yeah.
and I don't know if it's because I'm trying to make it too perfect or if like I'm trying to force a half thought out idea.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those two things most of the time. That's what I think.
Yeah. Well, I think that like a good script for a video takes some massaging. And a lot of people aren't even scripting in the first place. And maybe, you should do some videos that you don't script, like just to try it and to like get some videos out. Even this video, we don't have a script, but this is still an intentional video that we had a plan for the conversation, and I kind of prepped a little bit of what we wanted to talk about. But when I was working with this brand, Dear World, one of their core tenets is first drafts suck. I was like, dang, I love that. I love that. Robert was like, I can tell immediately when someone shares a first draft with me, and I just shred it apart. And most people aren't even getting to the first draft phase because they're just wanting to they hit record and then they talk and then they post it. But it's like if you're trying to make, and again, not everyone's trying to make the best content. Not everyone's trying to make great videos. But if you are trying to make great videos, a first draft, then maybe a peer review, then maybe, so like I have a series that I've been working on called Movements that is about art movements, and the first episode hasn't come out yet because I've been massaging this script for a long time. It took research before I even wrote the script. Like it's a whole thing. And not everyone wants to go to that extent with their content, but with where I'm at on my journey, trying to make the best videos possible and making great videos, I'm like, I should be researching topics and getting notes, and I should be reviewing my scripts, recording multiple takes. What are the odds that you're on your first take you're gonna get it perfectly? So if you're trying to make the best things, you're gonna go through multiple takes, and then just putting it out. And that's the part where I get hung up, is because I also kind of have this expectation and this like base audience where I want my videos to be to a certain standard. So a lot of times I'll make a video and I'll just scrap it and not put it out. And so depending on where anybody is at on the journey, like with you, I would say have some scripts that you're working on long term, but also have some videos that you might just rip it off the dome. And if you're gonna rip it off the dome, at least be very intentional about your first sentence that you say. Then you can bring it back together, but you gotta be aware that if a stranger is watching this video and if it's not relevant to them and they don't make a connection on why they should watch this, then they're not going to. And so, I think with you, just talking, like, I think going through, this is something that we talked about before, but like going through your LinkedIn and your threads and seeing which posts did better and using those and using that as a way to have a little bit of evidence guiding what content you make instead of just like having these assumptions. And then another point too that's just been on my mind lately with making content is I get so like I'll want to share personal stories and personal experiences, and then after a few of those I kind of run dry But it's like we need to find a strategy that's making videos all the time, where if it's all being pulled from your personal experience, you're going to be limited. And so sharing stories, you don't have to be the creator of the story. You're the creator of the video. You can be the curator of the story. And some of my favorite pages, like Ray William Johnson is a great example. Millions of followers, OG YouTuber. His TikToks are freaking booming. They're these storytelling crime type of videos. And he comes back every day with a new video, has a constant source of videos, and you don't know anything about this guy's personal life. Nothing. I don't know if he's got kids. I don't know where he lives. I don't know nothing. Because none of his content is about him personally. And because of that, he has sources that he can get stories. And by choosing a story, it's going to be on brand because it's Kensington's idea of a story that he wants to share. You get to choose which stories you want to share. So if you're going to be talking about entrepreneurship, what are some really exciting and extreme and dope stories around entrepreneurship that you can share that educates the audience, gives them lots of value, and it comes from a different place? And so I would say, like, some homework for you after this is let's focus in on the entrepreneur videos and let's find some sources. People don't talk about sources very much. Their source is just their personal experience, their brain, and their whatever. But if you can find sources, it's like a gold mine. And so another example, Anthony Fantano, the internet's busiest music nerd, the needle drop, and he'll do a video that's like, why Limp Bizkit's the worst band ever. And I'm like triggered by that because I like Limp Bizkit. And I click on the video, turns out that's not even his opinion. That's the title of an article that Rolling Stone put out, and he's simply the one to open the conversation. But he got me to click because I'm like, Limp Bizkit's the worst band? I don't think so. Mm-hmm. And then by the end of the video, I'm not upset at him because he's not sharing that opinion. He uses these music publications like Rolling Stone, Billboard. He finds interesting stories because he's in the music lane, and then he turns those into content. And so if Anthony Fantano was left up to his own ideas, having to come up with every idea from scratch, he would not be putting out very many videos. Instead, he has a source and a process where, you know, I don't know exactly what it looks like, but maybe it's like every morning he goes to Rolling Stone and sees what's the trending articles today. And then boom, let me choose the one that talks about Limp Bizkit, makes it into a video. And so, yeah, I think that is a low-key gem that nobody's really talking about. Is you got to find sources for your content because, yeah, like I've been caught in this before where I'm just doing it one idea at a time, finding ideas from all sorts of different places. That works for a little bit. But if you can find trusted sources that you can pull videos from, that you can keep going back to, then you got a long-term sustainable strategy. So just off the top of your head, can you think of what would be a good source of entrepreneurial type of content?
I mean, there's tons of stuff out there. If you're looking at like individuals, you know, there's loads of entrepreneurs making stuff. We already talked about Hormozy. There's tons of people making things.
Like,
you know,
going to their pages,
yeah.
They can be sources.
Mm-hmm. And then there's like stuff like Forbes or
Entrepreneur Magazine.
Yeah, there's Entrepreneur Magazine, and then there's like articles that are put out by incubators like Y Combinator or Sequoia or stuff like that. And then there's smaller creators that would be doing something somewhat similar to what I'm doing, which would be people like Squid Pactor or Dan Coe is further ahead, and he's slightly different, but he's still in that entrepreneurship lane.
Yep.
So like there's a lot of different angles, like people who are way further ahead, and then like official publications, and then people who are like maybe I'm a level 1 and they're a level 2.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of places to pull from, honestly.
So, another big thing when it comes to sources too is going offline and books. Like, and that's somewhere where Truman, he could have just been like, you guys need to have better habits and put your shoes by your bedside to make them easier for your run. And yeah, but instead he was like, I read Atomic Habits so you don't have to. And here's the biggest lesson I took away from it. And because he had a source, people know, oh, Truman's not just making this up. It makes them listen. Like, the sources make people trust you. When they trust you, then they'll listen. Nobody's listening to anything that they don't trust.
Yeah.
It's in one ear, out the other. And so if you can have sources, it makes your content more credible. And that goes outside of video. That goes with scientific papers, with essays back in school. Your teacher's always telling you to cite your sources, because if you're just making it up, why should anybody listen to you? But if you are, creating a compelling argument or a compelling story that's coming from a credible source, boom, you got a freaking great thing there. And so even, some sources are better than others. Like, if all of your videos are just like citing Washington Post, there are people that are like freaking hate Washington Post, and they're right off the bat not gonna listen to you because they're like, oh, well, he's citing Washington Post and they're biased and this and that. And so that's even where like multiple sources can come into play. But even like straight out of the horse's mouth, like finding like videos and interviews of like Elon Musk sharing a message, and if you can take that message and commentate on it, all of a sudden it's not, hey, check out this idea that's going to make your business better, but it's like, yo, Elon Musk said that this is going to make your business better. Boom, I'm listening. And so those two things can be very similar in terms of how the content looks, but these slight differences make all the difference. I think another example I want to share of someone that does a great job at using sources to create sustainably is Roberto Nixon at RPN, who is one of my favorite creators, one of our team's favorite creators. Like, we freaking love Roberto and watch all of his videos, and he does get personal occasionally, but really not often. Like, not very often is he talking about what he ate for breakfast, what he's doing today. He's usually sharing stories that come from sources that are relevant, that are trendy, and it works really well for him. It's like, especially if you're in the lane of like current events, it can be like, going to news sources, but even some of his videos that are like for entrepreneurs, stories about Steve Jobs, like inspirational messages like that, he doesn't just pull it out of his ass. Yeah. He pulls it from, he shares Steve Jobs' story. He shares some business's story. He shares someone else's story. And very rarely, Roberto doesn't talk about his software companies that he started. He doesn't talk about his Instagram pages that he grew to millions of followers. He'll occasionally mention those, but that's not the core of his content strategy. The core of his strategy is really around these stories and ideas that are credible and that come from a source. And so because of it, dude, he's so consistent. He's only been putting his face on camera for like less than 2 years. Yeah. Now he's been blowing up. And he's also a great example of someone that doesn't avoid the work. People want a shortcut. They want to find an easy way. And you're going to be searching for shortcuts forever. You got to tackle the work head on, because to make a video like freaking Roberto, dude, his studio is over 6 figures in his home studio. Between his computers, his lighting, his cameras, his lenses, and if you go back through his videos, he's constantly changing cameras, changing sets, trying different gear, going to different locations, even hiring DPs and directors to make TikToks for him. And this is where the future of social media is that a brand like Roberto's is a TV show. Kids aren't turning on Saturday morning cartoons. They're doing Saturday morning TikTok. And as it gets more competitive, more people are making more videos, the demand for the videos to be better and to stand out gets way, way higher. Where if you're not putting in the same amount of effort, or if you're not doing your best, anyone watching your video is one swipe away and their next video is going to be lit because their feed is curated by an algorithm to show relevant videos. So if your videos aren't relevant, they just don't make the cut. They get 0 views.
Yeah.
So you gotta put in the work, and the work looks different at different phases. You know, the work for you right now is sitting in front of the camera and just making some videos, pushing through that uncomfortable. It's like when you first start going to the gym. It's so uncomfortable when you first start going to the gym. But now that you've been going to the gym daily for freaking how many years? Like 9 years?
Yeah.
Dude, you walk in there like a G. You don't need anyone else. You could show up alone. You do your workout. You don't need to ask anybody for help. You got it. You're like the freaking Hermosi at the gym, you know? But you gotta put in the 9 years to get there, you know? Even for me, like, I don't like to go to the gym alone. I don't feel super confident in knowing what workouts to do or things like that. So same thing with your creator journey. You gotta just start getting in the gym, just getting in front of the camera. The win is just hitting record. And even if you make a video, you don't like it, you scrap it, that's fine. You still gotta win. You still got that rep. It's like you're only gonna get to bench 500 pounds if you can bench 200 and you work your way up there and you put in the reps. And so a lot of people be trying to make videos that's like the equivalent of benching 500 pounds, and they don't even freaking pick it up. It freaking falls on their neck. It kills them, you know. And I mean, I'm guilty of that.
Tearing a pec.
I've overcommitted to videos out of my range and learned the lesson the hard way, because some videos like one single movie is like a business that makes hundreds of millions of dollars off of one single video. And so the spectrum of creating videos is huge. And if someone's just getting started and they're like, I want to make the next A24 movie, buddy, sorry, I can guarantee you it's not going to work.
Yeah.
I can promise you, I don't care how lucky you are or how pretty you look, like, you got to put in the work to get there. So to kind of wrap this video up, where can I support you? Where do you feel like you could still use a little bit of direction? Like, we want to focus on the entrepreneur videos. We want to, your homework is to go find some sources.
Yeah.
And then from those sources, you know, just in your notes, in your Notion, try and choose one that jumps out at you, because you don't want like a lukewarm story. You want to find something that's freaking incredible. And that's what journalists are always going for, that are like telling stories for New York Times or whatever. And it's that same game with social media of the better the story, better views, better video you're going to get.
Yeah, I think the biggest struggle is I have a hard time choosing what to talk about.
Yeah.
And you know, we were talking earlier about wanting to be intentional and like plan things out. And historically in my life, I've always felt more comfortable doing things off the cuff and unplanned and like impromptu. So like I would rather get up and have to give a speech with no planning than some planning, or have to go up in front of whatever, do some sort of performance with no background and just like wing it,
Yeah.
because that's easier for me, like mentally, to just, well, I'm here, I'm just gonna run it, than to like do all this planning. And but what does that end up with? It ends up with a bunch of lukewarm, mediocre stuff. And so I think, it's a hard question. Like, what do I need help with the most is maybe like validation on potential ideas.
Yeah. Peer reviewing and like,
Yeah.
that's definitely.
Or even just, especially in this early stage, like it's easy for me to get discouraged. Like, and even though I'm like trying to be like, don't let the little things like tear you down and slow your momentum, it's still hard to not feel that like hit. It takes a little bit of time to recover from when somebody like rips you on and you're you're in the early phase, you're trying to figure it out, and someone tears you to shreds. But I think that feedback and validation of ideas is going to help me, because there have been a few videos that like where you have said like that would be a great idea, like you would do a great job of that, or maybe they're not even ideas, it's like even just like writing or whatever. The validation that you gave me on those made it so much easier to execute, because I wasn't sitting there worrying if I'm going to make, because I'm like, sometimes I worry, like, am I going to make my business partners look bad? Am I going to make people like disappointed in me by posting this? And so when you give me some like feedback on the front end of like, hey, here's the thing to watch out for, but here's also a thing that I think is going to be awesome, it helps me be able to push through that initial phase of like doubting myself.
Yeah, that's fire. I think we should follow up this episode, like turn this into a series, do another one of these like a month from now after you've put out some videos. And maybe even sooner than that, just like go into your home and getting your studio shot set up. I would say like final message to just wrap this video up that I want to share right now is from Ryan Holiday and his book Obstacle is the Way. And it's like, we want to find the comfortable ways to create, but it's usually going to be the uncomfortable things that's going to make the better content. Yeah. Which is like where it's like we just got to suck it up and like do the work, do the uncomfortable thing. But it's like when you look at a movie, someone making a movie that's worth, hundreds of millions of dollars, that whole process was extremely uncomfortable. To plan it, to all the work involved, it wasn't easy. There were no shortcuts. And so I think and even like just speaking, like thinking out loud of even like how I want to be with my content, is we got to be conscious of what's comfortable and what's uncomfortable. And honestly, if we can identify the uncomfortable things and just like do those things, it might help us grow faster, And so being scientific about it, trying to be fearless. And I think what's going to really help us is we've got a good support system of our team. And so let's absolutely, maybe even getting back on track of doing like a weekly content focused call that's just about talking ideas, getting validation from each other, what we like. Because then when we know, okay, this video is a banger, we can dive into it and without holding ourselves back. So recapping everything, simplicity. We want to keep it simple. We want to think about it, but we don't want to overthink it. Intentionality. We want to be intentional. We want to be scripting videos, but we don't need to script all of our videos, especially with where you are. Dude, just make videos however is coming to you. You don't need to script it too much. And then the third thing, try your best with each video, and then inch by inch, try and make it better from there. And next thing you know, you're going to grow.
There we go.
But this was a super dope conversation, and I think that, you know, you have life experience, you have skills, and that gives you an advantage. You know, Hermosi blew up because he had scaled businesses before. And so for him, he just needed to get on camera because he was the right person and it started to work. But if he did not have the experience but had the best quality production, it wouldn't have worked as well. So your major advantage that you have here is your experience and your skills. Like, you are an entrepreneur. We are walking the walk of what we're doing here. You don't have some job somewhere else. Like, your job is building your business. And so that is the stamp of approval we need to go out and make videos. If we weren't entrepreneurs, then it'd feel fake talking about entrepreneurship. But you are an entrepreneur. You have tons of skills that people could get tons of value from. And so I think that your personal brand is going to be lit. And you're going to be able to carry it with you forever, or as long as social media is around, through multiple businesses. Like, that's the real benefit of building our personal brands is, let's say a year from now, Vidi flops or whatever, we still got our personal brands that can roll into the next thing. And with developing the skill, this is a very valuable skill that lots of people need help with. And more people are becoming creators year by year. And so, yeah, I'm excited. Like, it's a lot easier going down this journey together. You know, like you, me, Truman, we're all at different stages of our brands, but we're able to pull it together, help each other out, and I think, yeah, it's going to be great. So, any final remarks you got for this?
Let's do it.
Yep. Let's do it, baby. All right, you guys. So, follow along. We're going to do a follow-up episode to this, and follow Kensington on social media at Kensington Roads on TikTok and Instagram and everywhere. And you can also even Gmail. You can also check out my page that I'll be collaborating with Kensington at Mike Ritchie, Truman's page at Truman J Mylan, and True Mylan on TikTok.
He's got a few different ones.
Yeah. So, but thanks for watching, you guys. Drop a comment below. What do you guys like? What stood out from this episode? What do you want more of? And we'll see you guys later.